All right, so I'm going to kind of jump into what we're doing this quarter because I know last week I kind of had you do it by yourself because you didn't quite know what you were doing, and that's okay. But I'm going to kind of talk about the story elements charts. So go ahead and turn to page 24 and 25. I know I referenced this last week, but I'm going to kind of go over this with you. And if you think back to the beginning of the school year, I actually kind of talked about this as well. All right. So at any time, if you need to pause because I'm going too fast, just please pause, and that's fine. Or you need to listen to it again, that's good too. But every single fiction book is set up like this. Okay. There's going to be some sort of hook to get you into the actual book, grabs your attention. It could be something that is, I don't know, it's just a hook. It grabs your interest. Okay. And then after you have that, you're going to have the exposition. The exposition is really just saying who is doing what, where. So who are the characters and where is it taking place? So characters and setting essentially is what's happening there. The exposition is the most, it's really important, but it's really, really boring. Because in order for you to understand the story, you have to know who is in the story. And then also where and when it's taking place. Okay? So it is kind of boring, but you have to get past that. That's what I talked about in the with the magic number. You got to get past that exposition, okay? That's usually within the first chunk of it. Then, after you have the exposition, it comes to the conflict. Okay, so the conflict, this is the problem in the piece. This is what the character is stressing about. This is what's happening to that character. It could be an internal conflict, or it could be an external conflict. It could be both, honestly. But anyway, so you have the conflict. The conflict is what makes the story go. Okay? So after you have this conflict, then we start to realize what the rising action is. The rising action is the majority of the piece. Okay? So it's most of the book. It's most of the story that's taking place. But there's going to be specific events that lead up to solving the conflict. So that's what you're doing with the rising action. You're finding things within it that are specific and they're important to the character solving the problem. Okay? We usually put about 2 of them in this one, which is what I'm going to have you do on your assignment. Then we have the resolution of the conflict. You guys know this as the climax. I say it a little bit differently because this is when the conflict is actually resolved. So the resolution to the conflict. And it's really important that you look here. It says, do these match? Because they need to. The conflict needs to match the resolution to the conflict. Okay? So in here it says conflict is no longer an issue for the character. He or she no longer worried about the conflict after what happened. The problem solved, that kind of thing. So make sure that they match. So if the character wants this, but this is in the way, did the character get that? And how do they get that kind of thing? Okay, so make sure those things match. It's very important. All right, then after the resolution of the conflict is made, we get into the following action. This is the, okay, is everyone okay? Are we good? Are the characters fine? Where's the story going? That kind of thing. So following action. And then you get to the resolution of the story. This is the very end, the very, very end. So what happens right before the story is 100% done. Okay, so that's what you would write down here. Something else I want you to kind of bring to your attention is this little box over here. It says, pretend the book we're reading is about 10 chapters. Okay, the chapter numbers by each event show you just how much of a book is that part. Obviously, these are not exact, but it's just an idea. So if you're looking at this, it kind of tells you how much you should see here. So the exposition is chapter 1. Okay, that's just an idea. It's not going to be 100% all the time. But the exposition is not very much. It's like 10% of the book, if you think of it that way, if you're like more math-brained. Okay, so if there's 10 chapters, an exposition is in the first 10%. Okay, then you have the conflict. The conflict happens in chapter 1 or 2. You figure out what that conflict is towards the beginning of the book after you know what the exposition is, who the characters are, and where it's taking place. Okay, then it goes into the rising action. You're going to see the rising action is chapters 3 to 8. That's a good chunk of the book. There's not much left after that. Okay, so that's most of the book. It takes that long. It's kind of like riding a bike. Riding up a hill on a bike is really hard. It takes a long time. Okay, so the rising action is going up this hill, it's going to take a long time, the majority of the book. Okay, so then you get to the resolution of the conflict. This is one sentence in chapter 8. It happens like that. You know immediately that the conflict is solved. Okay, so that happens very, very quickly. Then right after that, you get the falling action. The falling action is chapter 9. It's going to be really quick. Take note, rising action, riding a bike up a hill takes a long time. Falling action, riding a bike down a hill, does not take very long. This is only one chapter, where this one is 6 total. Okay? Then you get to the resolution of the story is chapter 10. What happens at the very end? Okay? All right, so just kind of take note on that. But again, the conflict and the resolution comic should match. And then these just give you points to kind of look at. So if you did not look at this last time, when you did your assignment 3.1, this is something I want you to look at again. I know I've explained it now, so maybe you are looking at it this time, but go back to this. Use it as a resource. It's very, very helpful. Okay. So then another thing is on page 25, I have the exact same thing. However, I have 3 different events or books or stories to kind of tell you. Okay. So first I have Nemo. And then I also have Frozen and a roller coaster ride. So it kind of takes you through what the different parts are in that to kind of give you an idea as to what you should be thinking about with the video that you ended up watching. Okay. So use this again as an example to go, okay, am I in the right spot? Is this actually rising action or is this something else? Is this actually the falling action or is this the resolution of the story? So just kind of look through that because this is going to be helpful as well. Okay. All right, let's see. Before I move on to the next little videos that you're going to go through, I'm going to kind of talk through what your assignment looks like. But again, 24 and 25 are very helpful to you, and they're going to help you out a great deal. You're essentially going to do the exact same thing you did last time in class. You're going to have the same video. So it's either Presto, Lifted, or Piper. So one of those you watched last week, and you filled out a story elements chart just like this. Okay, except for it was online. So I'm going to show you kind of what you did last time. So what you did last time is this. You took this, you watched one of those videos. You watched either Lifted, Piper, or Presto, and then you filled this out for it for that video. Okay. You essentially are going to do the exact same thing. If you wanted to go back to your previous assignment 3.1, you could do that and relook at what you put in there. But based off what I've already told you about and kind of going through this with you, it may and hopefully will change some of the things that you ended up saying. As I was going through the 3.1 assignment, a lot of you, you had some really good points, but it was kind of mixed up a little bit. So I'm going to have you look at this again, plus the one you already filled out, and you're going to kind of redo it in a sense to see if you can make it better. Okay. I am going to grade this one a little bit harder. I'm going to look at different points with it. I am going to focus a lot on the conflict because I want to see what that conflict is. And I'm also going to make sure that these things match. So that's a big point for me. The other ones, they kind of fall in place. After you get the conflict and you have the resolution of the conflict, everything else falls into place. Okay, so that's why I'm focusing so much on these 2 things. All right, so make sure these 2 things connect and that you have that conflict in a pretty good order. Okay, all right, now speaking of your assignment, so I'm just going to show you this really quickly too. So again, on this slide right here, you're going to watch a video, whichever video you watched last week. There's this link right here is going to take you to another video of me talking about that specific video. So make sure you go to the video that you did last week because otherwise you'll be really confused as to what I'm talking about in that video. Okay, so pick the one that you did, and then I'm going to kind of talk through it. I'm not going to give answers, so to speak, but I am going to direct you in a way that's going to help you to fill out this a little bit better using your original one from 3.1 plus using this to kind of guide you to feel that better. Okay? All right, so that's essentially what's going on. Try your best on it, but again, you are choosing on this one, you're choosing the video that you did last week, and then I am also in there talking about it. So choose that, and then I'll see you there.